Hey y'all, it's Brittany and welcome back. This week in Snapped in Skincare, also known as Clean Skin, Dirty Deeds, we will be talking about Miss Lee Ann Reidel. Now, this is from the first season of Snapped, episode 6, and this is the classic case of a Florida criminal. You will understand when we get into the story. If you want to hear all about this Floridian case, stay tuned. All right, you guys. So first of all, like always, I have to say thank you to all of you who continue to come back every week and watch and engage. It means the world to me. We are growing and we are growing much faster than I expected. So little old me is so happy for all of you being here and supporting me. So thank you, everyone. And for those of you who have not yet subscribed, please make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell. You do not want to miss all of the great content that I have coming on the way for you guys. Also, make sure you hit that notification bell and the like button because all of that engagement means the world to my channel. But let's get into today's story, y'all. Now, in the intro, you heard me talk about a classic Florida case. If you are familiar with true crime at all, you know that the dumbest criminals, just by chance, tend to come from Florida. And this case is no exception. So this case is actually based in a couple of different places, but the actual criminals that committed the crime, they're from Florida. So let's jump into the case of Lee Ann Reidel and how she snapped. Lee Ann Reidel was born in 1967 and she was born in Long Island, New York. Now, at a young age, Lee Ann's parents divorced and Lee Ann's mom actually chose to move to Florida with her female partner after she divorced Lee Ann's dad. And Lee Ann was left to live with her dad in Long Island. You know that a lot of times divorce, especially at a young age, if not handled correctly, it tends to affect the children really deeply, even when it is handled correctly, but even more so when it's not. And it caused Lee Ann to act out in this case. And she would act out, of course, behaviorally, but she would also act out sexually. She'd be very outwardly sexual at a young age. And, you know, women's empowerment, I am all for being sexual and being free with your sexuality, but honey, not in high school. And that was the case with Lee Ann. And by the age of 19, she ended up having a son. Now, she ended up pretty much being a single parent and she had to support herself and her son the best way she knew how. So she ended up taking a job as a bartender at a strip club. And at this strip club is where she met Paul Rydell. Now, Paul Rydell was this huge hunk of man. He was your typical bouncer type of guy, huge guy, muscle guy, and she thought he was attractive and they hit it off. Now, while Paul looked like a bouncer, he was not a bouncer. He was actually a very successful co-owner of a very popular gym fitness club called the Dolphin Gym. And she thought he was super attractive. He was super successful. And that was just what she needed in her life, a man that could provide for her that she was also attracted to. Now, they started dating, they hit it off, and within 2 months, Lee Ann was pregnant with Paul's child. So shortly after that, the two got married in 1998. Once they got married, Lee Ann actually quit her job to become a stay-at-home mom, and she got to enjoy, a posh lifestyle. Paul was bringing in quite a bit of money, and she didn't need to work, and she got to enjoy the benefits of his successful business. Now, on the flip side of that, they did fight a lot about Paul's lifestyle. He worked hard, but he also played very hard. And that wasn't really conducive to the family life that Lee Ann was trying to lead. Also, when he partied, he dabbled in drugs and he ended up actually smoking crack. Obviously, once you start smoking crack, it's not something that you could just do for fun every once in a while, recreationally. you get hooked, you're addicted. And he became addicted to crack cocaine. Now, by this point, Leanne had officially had enough, which I don't blame her. You can't make a happy home and family life with a crackhead. You just can't. You just can't. So she had had enough, and what Leanne did was she decided she was gonna take Paul's money and start a new life. So she took $120,000 out of Paul's money and moved to Florida with her mom and her mom's partner. And then when she got down there, she didn't just depend on the $120,000 that she took. She got another job as a bartender at another strip club in Florida. Now, this is where she met Ralph Salierno. Now, he was similar to Paul, a big hunk of a man, muscle guy, typical bouncer appeal. And he was huge, and that's what she was attracted to. But he wasn't the brightest crayon in the box. He was also a little bit different in ambition compared to Paul as well. He was a bouncer, and he was also a security guard, but he tended to date strippers. That was his thing. So Leanne was very different than what he dated before. She was much more of a mom and stable and a, family woman and not a stripper. And I think all of those things really attracted him to Leanne because he and her kind of hit it off. Talking in the club, they kind of hit it off, and it went from there. They were flirting in the club at first, and then it kind of advanced out of the club into the bedroom, and they started a relationship. And he quickly fell head over heels for Leanne. This had continued on for a few months, and about 6 or 7 months after Leanne had originally left Paul, he reached back out to Leanne, and he wanted his family back. He told her that he would do whatever it takes to turn his life around and prove to her that family was first, and he wanted back what meant most to him, which was his family. He was always excited to be a parent, but I feel like he probably let his money and the lifestyle that surrounded him get the best of him, which tends to happen a lot with the people who are in that type of lifestyle. So Paul committed to going to rehab and doing whatever he needed to do to get Leanne and his son back. And he did it. He went to rehab successfully, and Leanne had even asked him to do blood work to prove that there was no more drugs in his system and he was completely clean. And he did it. His test came back completely clean. So after all of that, Leanne decided maybe I should go back to New York and try to make it work with my husband. So she left her mom and she left Ralph behind in Florida, and she moved back to New York to be with Paul. Now let's talk about the crime. One night, just a normal night at Dolphin Fitness, Alex Algeri, who was the co-owner of Dolphin Fitness, was just walking around his gym, making sure everybody was good, making sure the instructors were all good, checking to see if anyone needed anything or if anything was going wrong. The normal owner kind of check on any given night. And one of the instructors had actually stopped him and said, "Hey, that song that you played the other night, that song was bomb. What song was that?" And Alex was like, "Oh, that's that Ricky Martin. That's that Livin' La Vida Loca. Like, I got the CD in the car. Let me go grab it for you." So he runs out to the parking lot to go grab Livin' La Vida Loca, Ricky Martin's CD out of his car for his instructor. And while he's out there, everybody in the club hears gunshots. And after they hear the gunshots, Alex stumbles back into the gym and he's bleeding everywhere. And obviously he's been shot. So they call the police, they call medical services to come and assist Alex. Now, Alex was shot in his neck, in his chest, and in his shoulder. So he's bleeding profusely at this point. When police and emergency services arrive on the scene, they try as much as they can, but there's nothing that they can do to save Alex Algeri. Leanne gets there and police reassure her that it's not Paul, who is the other owner of this gym club, but it's his business partner, Alex. And she's still shocked, but she's somewhat relieved that it's obviously not her husband. Now, police get to work right away and they start talking to witnesses that were there on the scene when it took place. And they did find a woman who saw the shooter, and she said he was a white male. She saw him get into a white van and the white van sped away. But she didn't get any details of the van and also didn't get any details of the actual shooter's face. She was too far away to get any of those details. There was also no cameras in the area of the parking lot that they were in when all of this took place. So there was nothing that would have been of help or assistance to the police at all. Now, the first thing the police also did in terms of looking at reasons or motives for the attack on Alex was they looked into his own background. And what they found was he had actually gone to jail previously for doing some truck hijacking in his younger years. Now, if you're from the East Coast and you're doing some truck hijacking, usually that means that you're linked in some way with the mob, the mafia, whatever you want to call it. And they thought that maybe this could have been kind of a mob hit trying to take care of Alex, tying up a loose end of some sort. Now, when they talked to family and friends, his family and friends both said once he got thrown in jail for doing the hijackings back in the day, that is what set him straight. He was not for the jail thing. That just did not suit him. So it scared him straight. And ever since he had gone to jail for that, he had never done anything that would cause this type of attack to take place. Of course, they also checked for enemies, and again, family and friends said they knew of no one. He had no enemies. Police also look into Alex's co-owner of the gym, who's Paul Rydell, and they talked to the family to see if there was any issues between the two owners at all. Family and friends mentioned that there was some tension in recent times between the two. Alex felt that Paul's drug addiction and partying was really getting out of control and it was affecting the business, and they kind of fought a lot about that. On top of that, Alex found out about a week before he was attacked in the parking lot of their gym that money was missing out of the business account, and only two people got access to the business account. Alex, I didn't take it, so it had to be Paul. So of course he confronted Paul about the missing money, and Alex threatened to leave the business altogether. Now, Paul did admit to Alex that he had been taking money, and when police talked to Paul, he says the same thing. Yeah, I was taking money. Me and Alex fought about it. I told Alex about it and apologized for it. And, they were kind of moving forward beyond that. But he said at the same time, he would never in a million years do something like that to Alex. Alex was like his best friend. They did everything together. They bought the same things, the same cars. They had the same physique, all that. He would never do anything to Alex, is what he told the police. Paul also ended up having a rock solid alibi. And the alibi was he was smoking crack rock with his friends. When police talked to Leanne about Paul's continued drug use and whether she knew or not that night Paul was away with friends smoking crack, of course she was upset because he was supposed to be done and turning over a new leaf and not doing any of those things anymore. But she thought he was supposed to be working late at the gym that night. Come to find out, Paul had switched shifts with Alex so that he could go hang out and smoke with his friends. Now, as I said, they looked very similar. They drove identical cars down to the very last customization that you could think of. Exact same vehicles, all that. Also, while they were talking to Leanne, she mentioned that maybe it could be possible that whoever it was that attacked Alex could have been actually coming for Paul instead, and could be a case of mistaken identity. Since her husband seemed to have a little bit dirtier of a background and he was dealing with some issues at that current time, her thought was maybe they were coming for my husband instead of Alex. Now, why would an innocent woman just offer that information up about her husband? Like, it didn't make any sense to me at all. Now, police go back and talk to Paul about what his wife has said to them. And they actually take him into custody to protect him for the most part, but also to continue the conversation with him to get more information. And basically he says, you know, the only person that I could think of that would want to come back and attack me is some guy that I threw out of the gym the other day. He was in the sauna and he exposed himself to one of my employees. And when she came and told me, I threw him out into the parking lot. And when I threw him out, he threatened me and said, "You're a dead man." And that was really the only person that he could think of that would want to come harm him for any reason. And that lead led nowhere. So basically, after about a year, the case goes cold. Now, after all this takes place, Leanne basically begs Paul to move to Florida so that they could be safe as a family. And he agrees. After all of this happens, he agrees. And he's basically at this point flying back and forth to New York to take care of business at the gym while living in Florida to be safe. 2 months after that, Leanne is pregnant again. Of course, Paul is happy, just as happy as he was the first time Leanne got pregnant, and excited to grow their family. Now, while the Rydells are growing their family and trying to move on from the horrific incident that happened back in Long Island, police in Florida arrest a man. He's a car thief, but he pretty much is playing a get out of jail free card and tells police, you know, I have information on the murder of Alex Algeri. And what he tells police is that a man by the name of Scot Pagett had been going around bragging and saying that he was involved in the shooting at the Dolphin Gym in Long Island. Now, Scot Pagett was a bouncer in a strip club in Florida. So obviously police go to talk to Scot Pagett. Now, at first he tried to tell police that he didn't know who Alex Algeri was, and he had never been to Long Island, New York, and he didn't know what this person was talking about whatsoever. But after a few hours, honey, he spilled all the tea. He ends up telling police, yeah, I went to New York, and yes, I was involved in the murder of Alex Algeri, and it was all because of my friend, Ralph Salierno. He told police that Ralph offered him $3,000 to drive him to this gym club called the Dolphin in Long Island, New York from Florida, and he needed to commit this crime. He tells him, our target is Paul Rydell. I know what car he drives. I know what he looks like. I know the schedule. I know his moves. All of that. I know it all. So this should be kind of quick, in and out, one and done kind of thing. So he agreed. He drives him to Long Island from Florida. And when the person came out of the club, Ralph shoots the person that walks out of the club, who is Alex Algeri. And then they skied off. Ralph is the shooter. Ralph hopped out of the car, did the shooting, and then hopped back in. And then about a mile away from the club, they toss the handgun that was used to shoot Alex Algeri into a body of water. Ralph then tells Scott a little bit later, ooh, I think we shot the wrong guy. Now, obviously, once Scott spills all this tea to police, they arrest him for murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Then they move on to talk to Ralph Salierno. Y'all, it took him 0 time to spill his tea, okay? He basically tells the same story to police that Scott told them before. But he had some additional information to share. He told police that, oh yeah, and by the way, I was having an affair with Paul Rydell's wife, Leanne. He tells them that Leanne didn't really go back to Paul to rekindle their marriage and bring their family back together. She came back because she didn't want him to divorce her. She wanted his insurance money. She didn't want to have to go through a custody battle with the kids. And the first time she left with the kids and moved to Florida, Paul got right on it and went and got lawyers, because in the state of New York, you cannot move a child more than 50 miles away from their other parent without consent from that parent. So he went and got lawyers and was about to bring this to court and get his child back within 50 miles of him. So she didn't want to go through that. She figured if they went back, she could keep her child. She could still stay together with Ralph. And if they got rid of Paul, they could stay together and live off of his insurance money. And when she presented this to Ralph, she also offered him $100,000 of that insurance money for just him to keep if he got rid of Paul Rydell. Now, not only that, but Leanne also gave him a picture of Paul, a complete layout of the gym, the parking lot, exactly where his car should be parked, what his car looked like, what his routine was, what his shift time was. Like, she provided all the information. There was no other way for them to know anything about Paul Rydell without that woman providing that information. Now, the last bit of tea that he had to spill was that brand new baby that Leanne had just had, that was not Paul's child. That was Ralph Salierno's child. Now, when police go back and talk to Leanne, she of course denies everything. And she says, oh, Paul did it. I didn't ask him to do it. He did it on his own free will because he wanted to be with me. But then police arrest a man by the name of Mark Paglianti, and he has some information for the police on this case as well. He says that he was there when Ralph and Leanne met to discuss the specifics of how to get rid of Paul Rydell, and he saw Leanne give all this information. He heard the whole conversation. From there, both Leanne and Ralph were arrested for first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Now let's talk about the trial. Ralph had a joint trial with Leanne, and basically what prosecutors say is that Leanne seduced Ralph so that he would fall in love with her, and she knew that he would do anything for her. So she wanted to use him so that she could keep her child, get her insurance money from her husband, and also get rid of the marriage that she didn't want anymore. They also argued that, again, there was no other way for them to know so much detail about Ralph and his habits and his belongings, all of that, without the help of his own wife, Lee Ann Reidel. Now, Leanne's defense was just that y'all don't have no physical evidence that I had anything to do with it, which is the typical defense of any person that's usually being tried for conspiracy to commit murder. On behalf of Ralph Salierno, their argument was that Ralph wasn't there. He's never been to Long Island. He had nothing to do with this. We don't know what you're talking about. And actually, at the time that this act took place, Ralph was in Miami having sex with a stripper, and they parade this stripper in and have her testify to say, yeah, he was in Miami having sex with me. Like, how is that supposed to be believable? Needless to say, on April 28th of 2004, Ralph Salierno was convicted of first-degree murder, and he was given life without parole. Leanne was also found guilty, and she was given 27 years to life, and she'll be eligible for parole in the year 2027. Now, at the end of this, Paul was able to get custody of his son, and Leanne's family actually has custody of the other child that she had with Ralph. So that is the story of Lee Ann Reidel and Ralph Salierno. Typical Florida crimes. You attack and take the life of the wrong person. How? It's such a sad case. First of all, that your wife would conspire to do something so heinous to you just to get money and just to have her way. Talk about greed. I say it all the time. I don't understand how these women don't just get divorced. You can still get your coins. He had a successful business. You could have gotten child support. You could have got monthly payments of alimony. Like, there are other ways. But now you've lost your life being locked up behind bars. You've lost your children For what? And then the unfortunate loss of Alex Algeri, for his family, his friends, just so careless of these people. Something like that is so sad, when he was just going about his business, going to get a Ricky Martin CD for his instructor. Like, that's all he was trying to do. And unfortunately, he was at the wrong place at the wrong time and looked too much like Paul Rydell. All right, you guys, so I did incorporate a couple of different things in my nighttime routine today. You know, I like to switch up the masks depending on what my skin needs. And today I just really felt like it's been a long week and a long weekend. I'm tired. I feel like I'm running on fumes, and my skin has just been so tired and dry. Even though I have oily skin, like I can tell when my skin is dehydrated. So I really felt like my skin needed some rehydration. So I actually used my Pharmacy Honey Potion Mask, and this mask is so cool. It just feels cool. First of all, it's like a spa facial, and it's made with honey, so it's kind of really sticky. It's, as you can see, it's like a yellow gold color, and it has a very like honey-like consistency. But when you put it on your face, my face, as you saw when I applied it, it turned white. So with heat, it turns color, it turns white. The mask literally gets hot. So it doesn't burn. Don't mistake it with burning your skin. It doesn't burn, but it gives you, it's almost like a spice to your skin. I don't know how to explain it, but it tingles and it feels nice. It feels like you're getting a treatment. I really like it because it is a renewing antioxidant hydration mask. It has things like propolis, royal jelly, honey, of course, essential B vitamins, and it also has glycerin. And glycerin, if you don't know, is a humectant. It attracts moisture to wherever it is applied. But this is like a super hydrating mask. So if you ever feel like your skin is down, dry, dehydrated, this will really help with that. And of course, it's a clean mask. Pharmacy is clean beauty. The other new thing that I used this week was a new moisturizer, and this is the Murad City Skin Overnight Detox Moisturizer. And this one I used, again, I've had a long week. I've been out a lot this week, running around with the kids. We had a birthday party this weekend, running a ton of errands. And when you do that a lot of the pollutants from the outside, a lot of gunk and stuff just gets into your pores, into your skin. So I really wanted to detox my skin. So this is an overnight detox moisturizer. It has plant cells in it that help to neutralize the pollutants that get into your skin. It also has vitamin C in it that helps to brighten the skin and even your skin tone. And then it also works to help reduce fine lines and wrinkles. You know, your girl is getting up there. I'm over 30, so I got to start working early on those fine lines and wrinkles. So everybody knows that Murad is a great brand. It's a trusted brand in skincare. So I was really excited to use this. I tend to vary my moisturizers similarly to my masks. I tend to vary them based on what my skin needs at that time, because a moisturizer, as long as you have a good quality moisturizer, you can kind of use more than one. There's targeted treatments and then there's moisturizers. And you can use moisturizers kind of interchangeably depending on what your skin needs that day and still get what you need out of the moisturizer, if that makes sense. So those were the two different products that I used today. I try to give you guys as much information as I can to help you make some decisions with your skincare routine, knowing what to add in when you need it, when your skin is doing certain things. So hopefully this helps. But let me know in the comments down below if you need more information about my everyday steps, the things that I kind of use every day and why. I try to keep it towards the end of the story so that you guys are not getting an interrupted story at all. And I'm still able to give you some valuable information at the end. But yeah, that is all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the story. Let me know if you've heard the story about Lee Ann Reidel before. She's been on a couple different specials, not just Snapped. But let me know if you've heard this story before and what you think, y'all. What do y'all think about Florida criminals in general? I feel like it's so bad that they came out with the show Florida Man Murders on Investigation Discovery. dedicated to the crimes committed in Florida. But, you know, that's just me. No shame, no hate to Florida whatsoever. I still love to visit. It's still a great vacation destination. I just wouldn't live there because of stories like these. But other than that, you guys, it's been so fun. It's been real. I'm about to hit the bed. It's time for me to get some rest. Work starts again tomorrow. So I will see you guys next week. And until then, love you guys. Bye.